Okay, guys, welcome. It's probably our last week, so we're going to review Soh Cah Toa. That's what they're asking us to do in this week's geometry lessons. So once again, we're dealing with right triangle trig. And forgive my triangle, it's not the prettiest. But once again, you're looking for what is I call the all-seeing eye. So here's your eye, those are the eyelashes. And if you look straight across, this always goes to which one of our letters? Because remember, we're dealing with O, H, and A. And if you can remember, straight across always leads to the hypotenuse, which is what? The hypotenuse, there we go, which is letter H. So here's the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse. Okay, so there's hypotenuse. That is the letter H. Okay, so now we have to sit there and go, okay, well, how do we find opposite and adjacent? Well, they're always going to give you a reference angle. So in this case, let's say this is X. Here is our reference angle. So if we go this way, this is going to be our opposite. So OPPOSITE, and that means finally this is adjacent. If we come over here and if I draw, let's say a right triangle, that looks like this. There's my right triangle. If I come straight across from here, this is always going to lead to my hypotenuse. We're going to make the reference angle up here. This will lead to my opposite, so HONA. So this goes back to remember, if you find HO, you get A. So we talked about that. Nothing dirty and nothing bad about that. HONA, find hypotenuse opposite. That means the only thing left is adjacent. So now you're like going, well, wait a second. How does that really apply to what we're doing today? Okay, well, let's take a look. Let's say you're given a triangle. Let's do another view where it's a different triangle like this. I'm going to just pull numbers out of a hat. We have 3. We have a 5, and we have a 4. This is the most famous right triangle, a 3, 4, 5, okay? So we're going to sit there and go, okay, we need to label what is our HONA. Remember, what does Santa Claus say? Ho, ho, ho. Hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. So once again, find your right triangle. If you have to, you draw a line straight across, and here's my H. Okay, they're going to give you a reference angle in this case. So let's say they say this is X, this is Y, and this is Z. And in the problem, let's say in example number 1, they're going to say find sine of X. Okay, so first thing I have to do is go through and I'm going to label my O, H, and A. Let's get a pink marker out here. Oops, that didn't sound good. Okay, so once again, I look straight across and this is my H. Okay, sine of X is going to be my reference angle. So go ahead, put an X here, just make that your reference angle because it said sine of X. X is your reference angle. Okay, so now you draw a line straight across from this. So look, here's my O. Once again, find HO, get A. Hypotenuse, opposite. Find hypotenuse, find opposite, get adjacent. So now you sit there and go, okay, well, what do we do, Mr. Geiger? Well, remember, we're dealing with sine. So you come up to Soh Cah Toa. So right here, I'm going to write down sine is O over H. Cosine is A over H. And tangent is O over A. So what we need to do is find sine of X. So if this is my reference angle, well, here's my opposite, here's my hypotenuse. What is sine? O over H. Well, what is your opposite? The number 4. And what is my hypotenuse? 5. So my answer for number 1 only is 4 over 5. In problems 1 through 8, this is what we're doing right here. So 1 through 8, in this week's work, that's all they want you to do. They want you to set up just the trig ratio, which is pretty sweet. All you're doing is finding the fraction. 1 through 8, all we're going to do is what we just did here. Once again, look at your right triangle, find the H, Find your reference angle, whatever they tell you to do, right there. Let's go over one more. Here's the famous, we did 3, 4, 5. I'm going to call this X, Y, and Z. There's my right angle. Okay, we're going to call, in this problem, let's say cosine of Z. So that means Z is my reference angle. So I can go ahead and put a little Z here, or whatever I want to do. There's my reference angle. Here's my 90-degree angle. It comes straight across. Here's my hypotenuse. Here is my opposite. I found HO, H-O. That means here is my A. Okay, I'm going to make up random numbers again. Let's go with 6, 7, 8. So here is 6. Once again, these are randomly generated from my brain. Okay, so we sit there and go, okay, they want us to find what? Cosine of Z. This is just an example problem. Well, what is cosine? Sine, cosine, tangent. If I have to, go ahead, write down. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent is O over A. Soh Cah Toa. Remember Soh Cah Toa? Soh Cah Toa, Soh Cah Toa, Soh Cah Toa. We talked about Soh Cah Toa, Soh Cah Toa, Soh Cah Toa, like crazy. So what we have to do here is they want you to find cosine of Z. So here's Z. So here's opposite, here's hypotenuse, and here's adjacent. What is cosine? Cosine is A on top, H on the bottom. So A is on top, H is on the bottom. What number is next to the letter A? Well, there's a 7. So I have a 7 on top. What number is next to the letter H? 8. So as you can see here, we have our final answer would just be 7 over 8. That is 1 through 8. I'm going to pause, erase the screen, and do a couple more problems. Okay, so we're back. So what happens is once you get to problems 9 through 20, you're going to be asked to find the missing side. So the first thing you have to do, like we did before, is find HO to get A. So once again, what is my hypotenuse? The easiest one to find. Right across from the right triangle is your hypotenuse, which is, once again, the longest side of the triangle. From there, you go to your reference angle. In this case, it happens to be a 27. You go ahead and you draw a line coming straight out of it. Remember now, you don't have to draw the lines. I'm just doing this as a reference for you. This leads to my opposite. Once again, if you find HO, H-O, you get A. Because when it comes to Soh Cah Toa, there's 3 letters you're dealing with. Right up here. O, H, and A. Soh Cah Toa. Remember, it's trig functions, okay? That's the fun thing about these. So you sit there and go, okay, what's O, H, and A? Well, which one of my trig functions have information or numbers next to them? So you can see here, what I mean by that is, if you look at the hypotenuse, is there anything next to the hypotenuse? A variable, a number, anything? And the answer is no, because when you compare it to letter A, with the adjacent side, it has a 10 next to it, and the opposite has an X next to it. So in this case, we're using the 2 letters O and A. So if I rewrite out Soh Cah Toa, S-O-H, C-A-H, and T-O-A, which one of these 2 letters are being used? O and A. Which one's O and A? Tangent. So we're going to say tan of whatever my reference angle is, 27, is equal to my trig function. So we're dealing with O over A. So what's my O? X. What is my A? 10. So you have X over 10. Now we talked about these before. When X is on top, here's your choice. Do we multiply or divide? Once again, when X is on top, do we multiply or divide? And yes, you are correct. We are going to multiply when X is on top. So all you're going to do is take whatever the number is. We're going to go 10 times tan 27. Just make sure you're in degree mode when it comes to your calculator. If it's not in degree mode, you're going to get some weird answer, really small, like a negative 0.01 or something weird and small. Don't freak out about it. Just go to the degree mode in your calculator. Check it out. It should be fine, right? Now, let's do another problem where X is on bottom. So if X is on top, remember we talked about this. X on top, we multiply. And X on bottom, we divide. So that's the only difference. If you always set it up this way, you take whatever the number is over here and divide it by the smaller number, then we're good to go. And that's the fun with these. You put it in your calculator, get your answer. So if we pick another one, and once again, hold on, I'm going to pause it. Okay, so now we're back. So we're going to do the same thing as we just did a little bit ago. Let me take off the marker. So what happens is we're still doing the fun in the sun. Hold on. Boop. Marker cap won't come off. Okay, so here we go. We're dealing with, there we go. Let's get rid of the glare. So we are dealing with this one. So we're going to have to do the same thing. What does Santa Claus say? What do we have to do? We have to find HO to get A. Because remember, Soh Cah Toa. Soh Cah Toa. Soh Cah Toa. Usually you see it like this. HOHCAHTOA. But then I write it like this. So you guys are all set up for the fractions, ready to go. We don't have to mess around with it. So the first thing you have to do is go, okay, well, how do I find these? Once again, come to your right triangle. You see this, you draw a line straight across. This always leads to my H. You look at your reference angle, which is the next thing, and this always leads to my O. You found HO, that means you get an A. So you sit there and go, okay, which one of my three trig functions, H, A, and O, have information next to them? So as you notice here, the O has nothing. The H has an X and the A has a 19. So that should be a little buzzer going, hey, I use A and H. Well, which one of my trig functions, A and H? No. A and H? Yes. Look, it's cosine. A goes on top, H goes on the bottom. So we go ahead and write A over H, and you could write down 19 over X. What do we do now? Well, remember, we said it's cosine. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to write down cosine of whatever my reference angle is, 74, is equal to my fraction, which is 19 over X. Okay, now here comes the big issue. Well, Mr. Geiger, what do we do? Well, it comes down to what we talked about before. If X is on top, you're going to multiply the two numbers, and when X is on the bottom, we divide. Where is X located? Right here, on the top or the bottom? Oops, there's a glare. There it is. So X is on the bottom, which means we have to divide. So you're just going to go ahead and go 19 divided by cosine 74. And once you get your answer, bada boom, bada bing, there you go. Once again, cosine 74 is technically a real small number, but you throw it in your calculator just like that. Give me 1 second. I'll go to my calculator. I'm turning it on. It's so fun trying to do this one-handed. So if we do 19 divided by cosine of 74, you get 68.93. If I want to double check if I'm in degree mode, hold on. So yes, we were correct where it was 68.9 was your answer. So just go one decimal place, make it easy on yourself. This is what's going on today. I know this is a longer video, but once again, find Soh Cah Toa. Find your hypotenuse, find the opposite, you're left with adjacent. Find ho, get A. What does Santa Claus say? Ho, 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 H-O. You do find what Santa Claus gets you, you get an A. Simple as that. X on top, we multiply. X on bottom, we divide. So this is the fun with these problems. Take your time, see how well you do, and give me a call if you're still stuck, anyone. Stay safe. Be extremely safe out there with all the new developments going on in the world. And hey, summer is not too far away. The only other thing I need you guys to do for those who are watching this is take a look at Zangle to see what your individual score is for marking period 3. If you like that score and want that grade on your report card, you need to go to the Google Week 8 classroom and say, Mr. Geiger, I want my grade, the percentage, which was, let's say, a 75. Or let's say you have a lower grade, you just want the P for pass. You just go to Google Classroom and say, Mr. Geiger, I want the P for pass. Thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.